Okay, so welcome everyone to this second conference of the InVivo Quest Tour 2020-21. Really happy to welcome you here. We have a wide audience and 4 excellent speakers today. So my name is Marie-Cécile Damava. I'm the Head of Innovation and International Affairs in a think tank named Agridées based in Paris. And I will be the moderator for this 1-hour event today. As I was yesterday actually for the first conference of the InVivo Tour, InVivo Quest Tour 2020-21. And actually the video is already available on YouTube or on this digital platform, so you're welcome to watch it if you haven't been able to participate live yesterday. Same thing will happen to today's conference. It will be recorded and posted online in a few hours. So the title of our conference today is How Giving Access to Testing Fields Be Key to Build the Farms of Tomorrow. As you know, an invention becomes an innovation if it crosses the so-called Death Valley of innovation. And of course, in order so that an innovation can become a reality and find a market, actually, it needs to be tested, it needs to be down to earth. And in the agtech sector, of course, farmers need to be involved, and new solutions, innovative solutions need to be tested in the fields. So that's the core discussion of today. The main focuses of the Quest Tour of this year are how to identify the most promising stakeholders, young project leaders across Europe that propose solutions for addressing climate change and also transitions in agriculture and in food across Europe. So yesterday and today we are focusing especially on Northern Europe. To discuss more specifically about these issues, especially relative to climate change, and of course you know that agriculture is impacted already by climate change, especially in terms of new pest infestations, biodiversity losses, and also water access and water management. Well, we'll explore today a number of solutions that are put together by young innovators in order to address these issues. So our 4 panelists today are Carole Rocca. Carole, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So Carole, you're the project director of Fermes Leader by InVivo. So as I understand, it's a program that helps farmers test new solutions that is put together by InVivo. Then our second speaker is Kevin James Knagg. Hi, Kevin.
Good afternoon.
So Kevin, you're the commercial director of FaunaPhotonics, a young company full of digital entomologists. So you'll have to explain this to us a little later. Then our third speaker is Nicolas Cavalier. Nicolas.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, okay. You're the commercial director and also co-founder of Telaqua. So Telaqua is also a young company, a young startup that is an expert in water management and precision irrigation, if I understand well. And then finally, Karima Essabbak.
Hi, everyone.
Karima, yeah, how are you? So Karima is the CSR director for Europe, Africa, Middle East, for McCain Foods, and you'll also explain us how you work directly with farmers to test innovations to address, especially to address these issues relative to climate change. So before I give the floor to Carole, I need to tell you, the audience, how to ask questions. So if you see in the bottom of your screen, you have a Q&As button. So please use this one, not the chat one, but the Q&As to ask your questions in writing. So please, short questions, and then we'll take 1 or 2 questions after each presentation, and then we'll keep all the other questions not answered if we have time in the end of this 1-hour discussion. Thank you all. Okay, Carole, the floor is yours. So what is Fermes Leader?
Fermes Leader is a quite new network because it exists since 2 years now. What we are trying to do in this network, you can change the slide if you want.
Next slide, please.
Yes, yes. We try to find new technologies who can bring solutions to address the issues you're talking about. And what we are convinced is exactly what you said. We think that it's really important to put the user inside the innovation process. And it's a way, we think it's a way to make an invention become an innovation. And we think that digital innovation seems to be a real opportunity in our collective challenge. Therefore, we have chosen to work on 3 specific or different farmers' activity. The first of it, and it's the biggest part of our activity, is AgTech innovations. Our role is to lead farmers to discover and make their feedbacks on the new IT service. We also work on environmental impact. And for example, we think that IoT must bring some objective and reactive data to better understand the impact of our practices on the environment, especially on the soil, on the biodiversity. And for example, we developed this year the first step of our new network of hives connected. And the last part of the last activity we have a special look on is food supply chain, or how digital services can bring value to farmers if he answers to consumer preferences. All those projects work in the same way. You can change the slide if you want. Our role is to identify and select technologies which address the needs of the farmers of our network, like addressing consumer and citizen preferences, ensuring farmers is profitable, saving time in farmers' daily schedule. For each of these technologies, the farmers take in hand the technologies and make his feedback with 3 actions. The first one is test and measure the benefits of these technologies in a real condition. The second one is to share experiences of his test, or if, and he evaluates the benefits of these solutions. The second point is he shares experiences on his test, on his experience. And it's really important, I think, for the enterprise, but FaunaPhotonics and Telaqua will tell us, I hope, because they express what it's good for in the service, what is benefits for them, but also what can be improved to make a better service for all of the farmers. And the other point of the shared experiences is that, in fact, our early adopter explain to all our community the benefits of using this technology. And the third action is to empower farmers to learn and understand these new technologies, how they can use it, what are their performance, to build skills. And we think that those skills will be very useful for other action in our issues, in fact. You can change. So today we have 400, around 400 farmers in our network. We work with 29 cooperatives. We have 7 partners. Most part of them are technical institute, French and technical institute. We work on all kinds of production, but it's true we are more developed on field crop, animal production, vine, and specific production, like agriculture, trees, like that. And all the experience and all the information of farm leader is shared with all our community on a digital platform. And this digital platform is our tool to help and lead all the farmers in these new technologies. We do it at Farm Leader and with the cooperatives of our network. They help us every day, and they help, in fact, not us, but the farmers, to explain those technologies and the benefits of them. So just perhaps a quick look on what we can find on this digital platform. Can change. So in this platform, you have the result of all the tests we are doing with the farmers. And it's not just the beginning and the end. You can find all the episodes of the tests. So we explain day by day all the steps of this test. And all the community can exchange with farmers who test those technology. And at the end of the test, farmers can evaluate online the services thanks to our grid notation.
Great, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Can change. So in this platform, you have all the results of all the tests and how the farmers use those technologies, but you find all the information which can help farmers to better understand and take in hand those technologies. So for example, you have a forum, but you have also you have to video, movies to explain to let in fact the farmer speak about its own experience. We explain also all these technologies. For example, here is an illustration of a connected trap, the different technologies, the different actors on the market. And this is a way to also allow farmers to train themselves. So since this spring, we suggest e-learning session. We build them with our partner, Technical Institute, for example, most of them, in fact. And you have different level. You can be just a new adopter or a confirmed profile. And you have a formation, training, and a quiz to verify that you perfectly understand what is the technology and its benefits. So to conclude this short presentation, perhaps I can share with you our feedback on these 2 years of Farm Leaders. And what we observed is that agtech innovation and low impact practices have the same obstacles to be taken in hand by farmers. They are complex, they are conceptual, they don't have really concrete benefits or its long-term benefits. And they both need deep impact on actual practices and a lot of transformation. So we think, and we are trading, that the tools we use for agtech will be useful for issues in agriculture. And we work them on 3 axes, 3 axes. These 3 axes answer to a needed stimulate and motivate farmers to go to this transformation. In fact, we think that incentive the changement, it's the best way to make it the more, probably, the more efficient. And the three axes are demonstrations and ownership, sharing experiences, and measuring the impact. And more, we try to use training and game to motivate farmers to use those technologies for the moment and perhaps other innovations later. That's all.
Thank you, Carole. I think the one of the words that you repeated the most is measure, testing, but also measure the impact. And it's probably something that how to quantify the impact of some new solutions that are put in place is probably very important. And for our audience who is maybe not familiar with the French environment, technical institutes are applied research organizations in France, specializing in for example, field crops, and that are really helpful and that have themselves some experimental farms. So it's some kind of partnership and cross-breeding, sort of.
Because it's clear we need this specific feedback of the farmers, but we also need to be sure of the technology, and it's the role of those institutes to be sure in trials, in fact, that the result is okay and its benefits for the environment. It's their job.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Carole. Okay,
sure.
So in fact, Fermes Leader, this network actually of connected farms is also a way to test new technologies proposed by startups. For example, Telaqua has worked with Fermes Leader. I would like to give the floor now to Kevin. So Kevin, as we all know, climate change has a number of impacts on agriculture, and one of the difficult impacts is that new pests are infesting agriculture, and how to identify these new pests, but also you have a technology that allows the identification of pollinators, honeybees, if I understand well. So this is a way to also protect biodiversity, if I understand well.
Correct. And Marie-Cécile, thank you very much for the introduction. So I will present a couple of slides. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to present today. Very short about FaunaPhotonics. We are a company based in Denmark, in Copenhagen. We're about 30 people. And we've existed more or less since 2014, but in the last year, activity has ramped up significantly. So to explain who or what FaunaPhotonics are or is, I can essentially say that we monitor insects. That's what we do. We monitor insects to ensure sustainable crop management. We are, in effect, a digital entomologist. And I will explain that term in a little bit more detail. Basically, you could say that the way that we are, or the agricultural industry globally has more or less been identifying and looking at the influx or activity of insects in the field, hasn't changed that much in the last 50, 60, 70 years. It's changing now because of the digital solutions, but it hasn't changed previously. It's a lot of insect traps, it's a lot of groundwork, it's a lot of identification. This is our solution. So on the screen, you can see a sensor. I like to explain, this sensor has a commercial name called volito. And volito means to flutter in Latin. So basically, anything that flies past our sensor is measured. So what does that mean? It means essentially you put the sensor in the field and you leave it. You don't have to touch it. There's no pheromones involved. There's no traps. There's no attractions of any kind. The sensor will basically work and you put it in whatever crop is of interest to the farmer or to the project, and it will simply count the insects that fly past the sensor. How does it do that? It does that by a complex, you could say, system of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other such things. But it doesn't just count the insects. It can identify the insects. And this is the key thing. So if you can imagine, if you put one of these sensors in an oilseed rape field right now, and in oilseed rape fields right now, all the farmers across shore are interested in the influx of cabbage stem flea beetles. Our sensor can identify a cabbage stem flea beetle from another insect. So it can inform the farmer, this insect has come today. It's a real-time monitoring solution that requires essentially just to be left alone. How the sensor works and how do we do this? Essentially, what we do is we train the sensors in laboratories or in the fields. We put, if for example, if somebody wants us to test for a specific insect, we put that insect into a cage with the sensor, and then the insect flies past the sensor, possibly 20, 30,000 times, and then the sensor knows that is insect X and not insect Y. And that's essentially how it does. Of course, this is all new technology. I also like the phrase we used before, invention becomes an innovation. 6 years ago, the sensor on the screen was the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. Now it's 5 kilos and you can lift it in your hand and you can move it to whatever crop you want. So this is the solution that FaunaPhotonics is working on at the moment, the digital entomology solution. I will give you an example of this in practice. If you take the next slide, please. So we've been working together on the InVivo Fermes Leader Program, and they've been testing our technology in actually the grapevine moth, which is on the top left, and on the grapevine leafhopper, which is the insect in the middle, in 3 regions in France. These 3 regions are key regions for wine growing. So if you can imagine, these insects on the screen here can cause hundreds and hundreds of millions of euros of damage every year. So correct monitoring counts. Every hour counts. So the need for precision agriculture is here. And that's what we do. We do precision agriculture. So it's about timing. It's about being able for the farmer or the customer or whoever it is to be able to see when is insect X or insect Y coming in my field. When? So we are basically a data company. And what we are doing is we're providing the farmer and the user with information. We're not an advisory company. We're providing information. The farmer knows best the farmer's field. So we are providing the farmer or the customer with information about what happens in their field at any one time. If you take the next screen, I can explain more. Okay, so on the screen, you can see 2 graphs. One is in green, and we'll take the one on the left, which is daily report. This is actually from exactly the example I've just shown you. So this is data, as you can see. It is data from 3 places in France over a number of different days. So that in this effect here, the user can go in and click on a day. We've taken as an example 2 days ago, actually 3 days ago. What happened on the 12th of September in one of the fields? And you can see there was actually 570 insects. And then if you could go on, we can't do it now because it's not interactive, but if you go on again, you can click and you can say, how many of those, for example, are grapevine moths? This is hugely beneficial to the farmer. They can see exactly their field, their data, and they can react accordingly. They don't need to go and look at the traps every day. They don't need to do the heavy legwork that they previously had to do. They can focus instead on precision management and precision farming. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a slightly different version. So on the left-hand side, this is what we've developed. It's a Power BI that we work with for companies or institutions. But for farmers sometimes don't have the time to go in and look at Power BI and go on the internet. We've developed an app that shows exactly the same information to the farmer. On this app here, you can see that the farmer literally on his field goes in, says, I have a sensor, clicks on the sensor, how many insects are in that field, and how many of these, in this instance, are cabbage stem flea beetle or pollen beetle. It's that simple. So At this time, we are still a startup company, of course, but we are developing our technology, and we're developing our business as quickly as we can. It's key for organizations and small companies and startups like us that things like this exist, that the Farmers Leader Program exists, because we need this tested by the farmer. We need this tested on the ground, because invention can only become innovation when the farmer agrees that actually, yeah, this is beneficial. I can see the point of this. It's hugely important for us that we can do this. As I said, I think that, of course, the question everyone will ask us is, what's next? What crops are next? What are we working on?
That will be the question in the end of our discussion.
I can come back. I understand.
What's coming next?
Yeah, what's coming next?
So don't reveal everything today, right now.
I won't
Just wait a few minutes, please.
Yeah. But I think my last cut sentence for me is the usability of these kind of tools can only be determined at the farm level. It starts with the farmer and ends with the farmer. And if the farmer can see that this has a direct influence on either his time management or his resource management or his income, it's a hugely effective tool. So I hope that this gives some indication of what FaunaPhotonics is. I've kept it very short, and of course you can contact me separately or ask questions or whatever you wish.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's very clear. So this is really in the center of precision agriculture with this early identification of pests. This is key. You didn't mention honeybees or pollinators.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. I always forget this, because people always talk about precision management in terms of pests. Mm. But that's only half the market. That's only half the problem, because of course it's beneficials as well. We can develop our sensor that actually, so it focuses on honeybees, or it focuses on beneficial insects in the field that the farmer wants to track as well. That's also a part of the technology. So it's not only, precision farming is not only just to solve the pest problem. It can also be used for beneficial purposes, to increase the biodiversity or to track changes in biodiversity within an area, within a farm, or within a geography. Thank you.
Just looking at the questions, I think we have a few questions here. What is FaunaPhotonics business model? Buying or renting equipment, and how many you need for 1 hectare?
Good question. I'll keep it very, very short. The business model at the moment, we are developing the business model along the lines of that the farmer will be able to rent the sensor. So it's the sensor will be able to be rented by the farmer, by whoever. And then the farmer will essentially just get the data on an app. So the sensor remains our property, but the farmer gets the data on the app. That's the business model.
Okay. And how many sensors do you need in the field to have?
That's the million-dollar question, Marie-Cécile. But you could approximately say, how many insect traps does the farmer have? I think the parallel question is, if he has 100 hectares of let's say, of rapeseed oil, how many traps did he have there? But we work approximately, for trialing purposes on a commercial level, probably 1 sensor to 15, 20, 25 hectares of the same crop in a similar geography. That's the benchmark.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. We need to turn the floor to Nicolas Cavalier. Nicolas, your company Telaqua has also worked with Fermes and is testing new solutions to manage water more efficiently. Could you please explain us what kind of innovations your company has put together?
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to start with a little presentation of Telaqua. So Telaqua was built 2 years ago. It's a startup specialized in smart irrigation. We are still a small startup, but our market is already international. We have clients in South America, in Africa, and mostly in Europe, in Spain and in France. Our solution is based on IoT that we develop internally and a platform, web and mobile. You can turn the next slide, please. Okay, so on this slide, you can see an example of an irrigation system, especially a drip irrigation system, because most of our clients have drip irrigation system because they need really precise irrigation. So just a few words on the irrigation system. You start with normally with a pump or with water directly on your field, and after that you have all your networks, and all your fields are divided on sectors, and on each sectors you have one or few valves, and you can be as precise as you can with the programming of your valves. The problem here for the farmers today is that they overconsume water because they don't know how much water they consume. They don't know if there is a problem on the irrigation system. They have a lot of employees on the field to check if every irrigation system is working correctly. So they lose a lot of time as well. And the third part is that if they have pumps, they are consuming a lot of electricity as well. So with Telaqua, we have developed IoT sensors, and we can connect the pumps, we can connect the valves, we can connect as well the filter and soil moisture sensors. Our specialty is the surveillance of the irrigation system. We are the only solution that can monitor if the irrigation system is working correctly. We are connecting pressure. We are at different point of the irrigation system. So we connect pressure after the pumps. We connect pressure before and after the filter to see if the filter is clean or not. We connect the pressure on the network and also after the valves. We have clients who, before using Telaqua, was waking up at night at 3 a.m. in the morning because they need to check if the valves was open or not. So now, because of the pressure, we can send an alert to our client to say, okay, the valve is open now or not. We connect also the water meter for the water consumption, and we connect also the electric consumption of the pumps. We can also remotely connect the valves and the pump, and so piloting the valves and the pump simultaneously. And we predict the need of in water and optimize the water consumption thanks to soil moisture sensors that we connect. And we say to the farmer if he put too much water on the soil, or if he absolutely need to put some water now because it's too dry. Next slide, please. So the company, as I said, has 2 years, so exactly the same age that family does. So directly the first year, we did a test with them, with one farmer in a nut production. So what we did for him is we installed, at the time it was a prototype, on several strategic points of the irrigation system. So we put our sensors in one pump and on 2 or 3 valves. The goal with him was to make sure that our sensors was working correctly. Expect as well constructive feedback from the farmer. And test our business model, discuss with him if our business model was correct or not. For example, our business model is just to buy the sensors and you have a monthly subscription to get access to the app and the maintenance. The results from the first year is that our sensors are still in place. The farmer is still using our sensors, so we're really glad about it. And our application is based completely on his feedback, and it's really positive for us. Family took a video of the installation for us, and it was quite a good support for us. On the second year, so this year, this summer, we took the another level, and we test with 10 farmers and on different type of production and different type of irrigation system as well. So we install new sensors that we developed during this year, and we installed sensors to monitor and control the irrigation, but also to survey, to watch the irrigation system if there is no anomaly. So the goal was to make sure that our solution can adapt on every time of production and irrigation system, to expect constructive feedback as well, and to measure KPIs and key elements for our solution. The result is that every farmers are satisfied, so we are really happy. We learn that our solution can be adapted to other irrigation systems that we didn't know before, like pivot, for example, and as well we have. So the test session is not over yet, but the KPIs are still being measured, and we hope that will be really helpful for us.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. That was very clear. So again, this need for testing with real farmers to have some real reality conditions to test your innovation. What is really interesting is that you don't just talk about the technology that you use, but this real time and how to save time on the farmer's working schedule is very important. And time is money, of course. So that's a very important focus. And also this step-by-step innovation progress, thanks to this farm leader program, making improvements in your systems thanks to this testing with farmers themselves.
Thanks to this test, we learned that save water is really important for us, but is not as much important as we think for the farmer. So we tried to help them to gain time to increase his production, and in the same time to save water, because they don't know how much water they're using, and they overconsume, as I said, and but too much water is bad for the production as well. So we have them in this kind of condition.
So more visibility. It was the case already for FaunaPhotonics, having some real-time information about pest infestation, for example, or water consumption. Thank you very much. I'm going to give the floor to Karima. So Karima, tell us about the actions that McCain is putting in place to test new innovations directly with farmers or in farms, on farms.
Yes. So we can go directly to the next slide. I will just give some information about who we are. So we are a family business still, and we are Canadian. So it is actually McCain family who is still in charge of McCain. We are a multinational company. We are operating in more than 160 countries. Just to give you an idea of our size, we represent 10 billion Canadian dollars revenue, 22,000 employees, and more important, we are working worldwide directly with 3,500 growers. And if we zoom a little bit in our region in Europe, we are working directly with 1,200 growers in Europe, and 1,000 are based in France. So just to give you a little bit who we are and the size, and I think it's interesting to have the view of a company like us who actually is really engaged on CSR, which is the next slide, please. And as you can see, we work as big companies on different pillars, and here we are here to talk about our pillar regarding smart and sustainable farming. And as I said, we are working with a lot of growers directly, so we are contracting with them, but we also have a team that work directly with the field with them. And so if we want to know what we should put in the contract to be sure that we are a responsible business and making sure that we understand our impact, we should be able to work hand in hand with the growers and to understand what is feasible in terms of sustainability, what we can expect from them in terms of good practices in their field. This is actually why we are working a lot in experimentation. And if we can go to the next slide, actually, I want here mainly to focus on two actions we have that is completely in line with this subject. Is first, we have a program of pilot farms here in Europe. We are working with 10 farms. So it's not McCain farms, but it is partners, so independent farmers, and we have an agreement with them. And we are working with them since 2016 on 7 main area of focus. So we are working on soil health, active ingredients and nutrients, of course, but we are also monitoring programs and progress in terms of biodiversity. So I was listening very carefully to Kevin, but also CO2 emission. We work on our selection of varieties, and then the last one, water reduction. So in these 10 pilot farms, the idea is really to seek for new technologies, such as we heard today, but also new practices, management systems, and we try to go hand in hand with farmers to test it in their own field. So we are talking here about early adopters, farmers that are really willing to protect and future-proof their land and field. And so then proving that it works in the long term in their own farm, of course, help us then to convince other farmers in our network to adopt that kind of practices, because we are proving in the field, and this is not us, the big industry who are saying this. It is the process of experience in the field of an agriculture who is working and producing potato for us that shows some results. So it is for us a way, having this pilot farm, to also be in line of what is feasible, how the health of the soil is living, where are we standing in terms of technology, and take some decision trying to incentive the farmers who we are contracting with. The second program, I think it's good here to share with you, is that we decided this year to go a little bit more ahead of this, and we decided to have 3 farmers of the future. So it is this time farms owned by our company, by McCain. So it's our own field. And in this kind of field, we really want to be proactive and supporting regenerative agriculture. So it is a farm who will be open for researcher, for also startups like this that we hear today that have very promising new technologies. And so we want to also to be able to offer that kind of field where in a long term, because we know the results take time to show it. We are talking about living the biodiversity. It's not in a day that we can show some results. So it is also a way for us to invest in future agriculture. Yeah, this is the 2 programs I want to present to you, and maybe I can let some questions maybe.
Thank you very much, Karima. Really, time is in the middle of all your presentations. Saving time for farmers, also the time for research, the time to have, let's say, efficient impacts of new technologies or new practices put in place. Time is key for all that. What is really interesting is these various initiatives, and it's not only in Europe, it's outside of Europe as well, and probably building these networks of experimental farms can also bring some interesting data to for a good analysis. The question that I have for all of you is what's coming next, and Kevin wanted to talk about his next products. What's next, Carole, for Ferme Leader? What's the next step? It's a pretty young program for Ferme Leader. What will happen next year and in the next like 10 years? What are your plans?
In fact, I agree with all we described during this session, and I'm quite convinced, I can say that the next step is to use all these opportunities, especially digital, to go on more complex subjects like sequestration of the carbon, because as we all said, I think we have to involve farmers in those techniques, in those practices too, and incentive will be, I think, a real motor to succeed in this challenge, because we don't have to forget that, in fact, we work on environmental issues since perhaps 20 years, and it's a lot of actions were used to try to change practices and mentality, and it takes a long time. I think digital can bring, with IoT and with the system of communication, new opportunity to empower farmers in those subjects, and I hope with more results. And we always have to verify and measure that the effect and the benefits of these practices. If even on agronomics aspect, it's long and is complicated, but even on feelings of the farmers, how he can use this technology in his today's activity, everyday's activity.
And Carole, since you have the floor, I'm reading a question from the audience. That is, you said you have 400 farmers in your network. How do you share the results of their tests and experiences towards a broader audience of farmers? And how do you measure that as well?
Yes. Okay. The first actor to help and lead the farmers is a cooperative. So our 29 cooperatives are our first interlocutor, and they speak and explain to agriculture. And in fact, we provide tools and help and training, but they are the real actor of this transformation. The first point. The second point is there is this digital platform, and it's our tool. We share all the experience, all the results to all the community with this platform. If a cooperative wants a special result, of course it can ask us, but it can find online all the results and all the details on the test, on the technologies, whatever is the subject, in fact.
Okay, thank you. Karima, Carole mentions carbon sequestration. I think it's also a direction where McCain is heading to.
Yes, definitely. Actually, we are quite involved in the subject at two levels. At global level, we joined a coalition named OP2B that gathers a lot of companies multinationals, but also cooperatives such as InVivo, and we are working on trying to align on what is the right methodology and what is the level of heart and understanding of the subject, how we can measure, how we can make it easy for the farmers to get into these subjects while even scholars are not still aligned. And we also have here in France a trial, so a pilot farm working on the subject, and we here work with also a lot of companies, cooperating with a lot of companies here in north of France region, and with the NGO Earthworm, who developed a methodology and try to build the experimentation and to work with farmers to create a pedagogy actually on this. Because I think, and I really agree with Carole, there is the technology, prove it, build the data, but then there is all the approach with the farmers, who is at the end alone is in his field to deal with all these huge challenges. So our role, at least for us, is really to bring some support, to try to make the information accessible, but also, and it is also something that has been mentioned earlier, is to make sure that at the end, in terms of revenue, the farmer finds something for him too. We cannot be the only one supporting all this change. So it is also something that should bring this technology some comfort for him, some incentive for him. Yeah.
Okay. Kevin, what's next for you?
Oh, good question. I think for our company, it's key right now is to build what we consider to be an insect library. Simply identify the crops, identify the insects, and then find a way via our sensor to put those insects into the library, both pests and beneficials. And of course, you have to do this. Everything has to have scalability. So it has to be done in a way that it works for the industry, it works for the farmer. It needs to be on crops where it's relevant. It's not really relevant perhaps on low value crops, but on the higher value crops where the margin is there, where the margin for error is huge. If a farmer makes a mistake on high value crops, I think that's key. So I think we're looking at this, and I think also it's to continually drive precision management, to find out better ways to inform the farmer of what's in your field, when is it there, and also where is it? That's the next one.
Okay. Nicolas, what's next for you? What are your plans?
Our priority as a small startup is to grow and to have more and more clients. But for the product field, our priority is to, as I said, industrialize our solution. And we have as well developed artificial intelligence solution for automated irrigation system. So we are working on that, and we have a few sensors to build for 2021.
There's a question from the audience for you that asks, what do you think about business model on profit sharing? For example, taking a percentage on water savings.
Yeah, it's a thing, but I don't think the farmers are really I don't know how to say that, but really into it now because they used to buy equipment for the irrigation, but for the field as well, in particular. So it's quite difficult to tell them that they're gonna pay because they are saving waters. And as I said earlier, saving water is not really the priority in France and in Spain. Even they have difficulty to get access to water, but it's more important for them to irrigate and have a good production that to save water. So it's quite difficult to discuss with them for now on this kind of business model.
Maybe water is not expensive enough.
Water, it depends on the country, the region in the country. So nobody is using the water in the same way.
Of course. Okay, well, I think we are ready to wrap up unless one of the speakers want to add something. We're in good time. Thank you to all of you to be concise and precise in your presentations and answers to questions. Well, we saw how important technological innovations are for addressing this climate change challenge that is impacting agriculture all over the world. And we saw here how bottom-up and step-by-step innovation is really important and efficient, hand-in-hand with farmers in collaborations, in partnership with cooperatives, big groups, small companies, of course, farmers, research institutes, so that efficient tools rather than gadgets are go to find a market and are really there to help farmers improve their businesses. So thank you all for your attention, and please mark your calendars with the next session of InVivo Quest, and that time it's going to be on October 6th and 7th. You can use the same digital platform, and this time the focus will be on Central Europe and also robotics. There's an Ag Innovation Lab, Ag Innovation Hub powered by BayWa and RWA. It's called the Agro Innovation Lab GmbH. It's based in Vienna. They will be present there together with startups in robotics. So I hope to see you there again, and thank you all very much for your attention. Bye.
Thank you.